The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by Sidebar, its guests, callers, and advisors are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS Verizon Media Group. Sidebar, a 103.5 The Beat podcast, is a production of IlTV Studios and may not be reproduced or represented, in part or in its entirety, without the express written consent of Verizon Media Group. Sidebar is the intellectual property of Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2024. All rights reserved.
Welcome to Sidebar 103 The Beat podcast, powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna, and today we have with us Patrick.
Good day, good day. Happy to be here once again.
Right in the studio doesn't have AC, and that's okay. I feel like that is
It's
culturally
cool.
relevant.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
It keeps us humble. It makes sure that we understand exactly how the rest of the country feels. Because, like sometimes you forget. You're like, hey, I could go inside a nice AC office, but not everybody has that benefit and that luxury.
This is true.
And so tonight, brothers and sisters, or this evening, brothers and sisters, we also are engaged with the wonderfulness of sweating despite having two law school fans on you.
Yep.
But that's not why we're here today.
Sweat is how you know you're alive.
No, I know I'm alive because I'm alive. I don't need sweat to tell me I'm alive. Like sweat is like it's panic induced. Like oh no, now we have to change our shirts because like I don't know about you. Me and you, maybe we sweat different.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
it's a comfortable, humid.
My sweat isn't like how like how people are like, oh, there's gray areas. Like I'm a little sweaty or I'm starting to glisten. No. It is 100%. Once we start, this is a faucet. It's like there were drips of sweat falling from my face. I have my flamingo cloth here trying to capture some of the sweat, but that's not why we're here.
No.
None of that is why we are here today. Patrick, I've invited you back because I would like to have a conversation about the Bahamas again. Soon it will be Independence Day. We are
My favorite time of year.
almost a week. I think we're going to be exactly 2 weeks out from it. Well, actually, depending on when this airs. We're a week and a half away, right? Because 10 days is a week and a half.
Yeah.
Give or take. All right. I don't see anything. And like it is not unusual. This happens every year where we know that independence is coming up. And this isn't to say for lack of people trying. You have, I guess, I don't know if the Independence Secretariat or like Celebrate Bahamas or whatever they call themselves now. Right? I mean, since the 50th has left, I don't know what they're calling themselves.
They just gave up.
They gave up.
Yeah.
But let's say the Independence Day Secretariat or the Independence Secretariat, right? They've been posting on Instagram, right? But what is there that is happening to make people feel a sense of patriotism, right? There should be, if no other time, during this time, a feeling of like sacredness, where it's like, oh, this is the moment. We've arrived. This is the time where we can reflect on who we are or whatever, or however it is, right? Or just blind jubilation or sorrow and being like, not sanctimonious, what's the word? Like, not mournful, but solemn. Like you taking the moment seriously, like
Yes.
yeah, like, but there's the patriotism to me feels lost, and I would like to know, I'd like to figure out exactly why that is. but also like what can we actually do? What are we supposed to do with this moment? Don't get me wrong. I am eternally grateful for a day off. All right?
I honestly thought you were going somewhere else.
Where what's going on?
No,
Man,
just like a day off. Like, I mean, we get days off all the time.
yeah, no, I don't feel like we get enough days off. And maybe it's me because like so I take days off to work my other jobs.
Okay.
So I don't get often where it's like a holiday. And I have to actively say to myself, do not work during this time. And even then I'll still end up doing work around the house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But one of my jobs often requires me to travel on holidays. All right? To work with the Ministry of Works. They're in charge of homecomings and festivals. They're in charge of regattas. If a big regatta falls on a holiday, I'm not going. I have to go. And like it's a matter of that's just what my life entails at this point. Yeah. Other times it's like, oh, I'm home. This would be a great time, I guess, to shoot a commercial with somebody or do something. Like I'm still working on holidays. So it's like I'm grateful for a holiday. But at the same time, when I know the holiday is supposed to represent something, I feel a loss where it's like, what are we doing? You know?
Yep.
But anyway, that alarm is letting me know that we need to take a commercial break.
Of course.
If only there was a way for the alarm to not make a loud, annoying noise.
Yeah.
But
alarms aren't known for that.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. You are watching and listening to Sidebar, a 103B podcast powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back.
Win a brand new 2026 GAC MPOW every week for 5 weeks. Every 10 reward points earns you 1 digital entry. The more entries you gain, the better your chances to win. 5 weeks, 5 cars. Will you be one of our lucky winners? Catch the keys today, only at Island Luck. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so game responsibly.
Welcome back to Sidebar 103B podcast powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. Today, here with Patrick.
Yep.
We're in the home studio. I mean, if anybody wants to donate a AC with like is it a high SARE rating?
Yeah.
Is that what they say to keep the electricity bill down?
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to donate one to me, hey, I'm not gonna look at it. I have no problem. I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. Not like those filthy Trojans. we're talking about the Bahamas and we're talking about independence. A couple flags are up. I don't feel the sense of independence.
Yeah.
I don't feel a sense of like, where's the joy? Where's the, oh, yeah, but coming up, where's the excitement? What are we supposed to feel, Patrick?
I mean, you are correct. While when you were speaking about it, honestly, when you said it initially, thinking about independence, I was like, yeah, and I mentioned it being my favorite time of year.
What? Like Christmas?
Yeah, it's like Christmas, right?
Okay.
But less good.
And no gifts.
Right, no gifts. The gift of knowing. That's the complete statement. The gift of knowing.
What?
Knowing independent.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, because it really put it in perspective for me. When you said, "Hey, it's like 10 days, 10 days away, about 10 days away," and it's like, yeah, I don't see anything. I haven't heard anyone talk about independence. I had more conversations about the 4th of July
Right.
than I had about, the 10th, right? So,
and every year this happens.
Yeah, and it's surprising because, even with you mentioning it being a day off, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't even stand out from the other holidays in that perspective because it's just another day off.
Right.
Right?
It's as significant as Whit Monday, which, unless you are a serious Catholic,
Yep.
Nobody knows what Whit Monday is about. And I don't care how many times a lazy reporter does it as a news story. We're not watching it because it's Whit Monday and nobody watches the news on Whit Monday. Right? So like we don't know what it's for. And honestly, there are things that happen where we continue to assume, well, people already know that and this about independence, about why the Bahamas is independent, or the importance of it, or what does independence actually mean? Because people think independence means isolationism, right? Like we like Wakanda, we just lock ourselves off from everybody else. That's not independence. Independence is closer to being you are the person making the decisions. You can choose to work with people, you can choose to not work with people.
Yeah.
So being interdependent doesn't mean that you're not independent, right? Us working with people means that if they have certain things that they want to do, that we are still, because we have the freedom to choose whether or not we want to work with them, we can say whether we want to take on those things or not, right? So we're still independent in that regard. But why are we independent? In which ways are we independent? What was the point of independence? Because we don't fully ever have these conversations, we don't know what it is. And it is easy to see a situation where we can talk ourselves out of independence, either literally or metaphorically, or even, I dare say, on a spiritual level, where it's like we don't rate our identity and our community as important as other communities and other identities, which is why it's probably so easy for Bahamians to lose their accent the minute they leave the country, right? Because there is no significance. We're just like, oh, people are countries. That's just how it happens. And they don't see the significance of it, right? And seeing the significance of it should be a part of the story. Where's our, to quote Jordan Peterson, right?
Why?
Where's our mythology? I was going to say clean up the room because they can see behind this camera.
That's actually very fitting.
Without a mythology, you don't. So it's two things that are going to make. Well, it's two things, but they feed each other, right? That make holidays work. You need a mythology, right? A story behind it that says this is the story of this thing, and this is why this is important. And unfortunately, in this day and age, capitalism, right? Because capitalism is the only activity that everybody is free to participate in, right? We are all free to participate in capitalism, not in the receiving, but in the spending, in the being utilized by it, right? So we all have to work for the capitalists. we all have to then take the money that they give us out of our pockets and give it back to them for our existence. You got to pay them for water, electricity, and to live, and for gas, and food, and clothes, and shoes. If you look at fake holidays like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and Father's Day, these are fake holidays. They fall on the days that they fall on, and nothing changes. The British call it's a bank holiday if it's a real holiday. So if the bank is closed, it's a real holiday. The bank is closed on Mother's Day because it's Sunday. Mother's Day always falls on Sunday because it's not a real holiday. Nothing changes in terms of the economy or commercialism, other than everybody buys things for their mother.
Right.
Because that is the activity that you are that the mythology tells you that you must participate in. You understand it, and you're like, I'm a part of it. I have to buy a gift for my mother. If my mother is dead, then I have to honor my mother in some way. If I have somebody in my life who is a mother, I have to honor them in some way. If I am somebody who is like a government official or a leader of some sort, I must buy gifts for the mothers to show the public that I believe in the same story they believe in, that mothers are important. To some, a much lesser extent, Father's Day is the same thing. Whereas, like, this is the time where we honor fathers. If you are a father, here's your necktie. If you know a father, here's your necktie. If your father's dead, right? Here's a necktie. It's a lot of neckties, right? But the mythology is we need fathers, we need mothers. And the thing, when people hear mythology, they think that means something is false. No. A mythology doesn't tell us if something is true or false. A mythology tells us a story. So the legend, the mythology, the story is fathers are important, mothers are important. These are the building blocks of family. We must honor them. And these days are to honor them. Valentine's Day, if you love this person, you'll do this. And we spend money, and we buy flowers, and we buy candy, and we have to go on a date, and we have to arrange this, and where's the wine, and we do things because the mythology tells us. There is no mythology for independence. The mythology, there's more of a mythology for Majority Rule Day. Right. Which is incorrect, but there's more mythology for that.
Is the mythology, you're saying the mythology is incorrect, or is it's incorrect for it to be more of a mythology?
Both, but the mythology for Majority Rule Day is incorrect. But that's a whole different topic. That will still be a problem when we get to January 10th.
But this is where I don't want to say the problem lies, but the lack of mythology is technically historically accurate.
For which one?
For Independence Day. Because, I mean, even if there is a mythology, it's not very exciting.
I mean, it is. Well, okay. So,
I mean, to you, maybe.
Yeah, sorry. You're
right? So, but compare it to something like Hades.
Right.
Right? You know, or some other country.
Well, America, Haiti.
Yeah, right. There's always surrounded by revolution, war, uprising, things
Jamaica
like that.
Doesn't have that, but they have a lot of other mythology.
Right. Because Jamaicans,
they have the Maroons and they have all that stuff. And so I think we have a general lack of what is the story of the Bahamas, right? And we see that often when we talk about culture. When you say, what is Bahamian culture? If you tell somebody, tell me about Bahamian culture, but don't mention any food. Don't say junk.
Like if the mace was thrown out the window on Independence Day,
then
we would have right, you know, because that's it. There is no thing. It's just right. We're celebrating, and I agree with you, right. But I believe it's almost it's something that you can't get around because you're like, what are we celebrating? Independence, right? But
why?
But why?
Right. What was the point of it?
Right. We got it, but there is nothing.
Was it given to us solely because that's what everybody was doing in the 60s and 70s?
Yes.
Right. And the thing is,
you know,
to some extent, you're correct. Now, I will tell you so if we look, And part of the issue is also, as Bahamians, we are short-sighted. But we're short-sighted because there are stories that we know that we are afraid to tell and that we don't tell as part of the issue. But another part of the issue is that people assume that everybody knows the story and I don't have to repeat it because who would forget that?
Yeah.
Right? People do not remember things that happened 5 years ago. People don't remember things that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The independence of the Bahamas happened well over 50 years ago, right? The people who were alive and cognizant at the time, many of them are passed, right? The ones who are still with us, they probably would love to tell their story, but at the same time, they're either busy doing something or people are like, oh, grandpa again, right? But I remember years ago, I heard that's when Zadness you do those interstitials, right? The little things in between TV shows and news breaks or whatever. It probably doesn't even exist anymore. It's probably recorded over the tape at this point. But it explained what was the big hullabaloo. Because, and I remember asking an older person once, why did we become independent? And a lot of people say, because we had to. And they made it seem like it was this spiritual thing that we all had this desire as a post-colonial country. And it's like, bro, people who go on to college and did post-colonial studies don't feel that way. There's no way that you're telling me in 1972 that a person who dropped out of primary school was like, this is our search for identity. Who are we? They didn't form it as that. You know what it was? It's exactly what we said it is. So because we were a colony of Britain, the Americans had some nerve gas that was no longer active according to them. They sealed it up inside of a ship. They wanted to get rid of it. They said, hey, where can we drop this? Because this is back in the day where the way you got rid of poison was to drop it in the deepest hole that you could find. So the Americans said, the tongue of the ocean looks deep. They didn't come to the Bahamians to ask, because why would they? It's not your country. It's Britain's country. They asked the British, hey, can we dump this, once again, according to the Americans, dead nerve gas in this very deep hole that nobody will ever see again? It's sealed away in this decommissioned ship.
Of course it is.
Right? So one, it's inert. The nerve gas doesn't work. Two, the ship will seal it in. So even if it wasn't inert, it won't get out. And three, we're going to drop it in the deepest hole of the ocean that we could find.
This all sounds very convincing.
Right. And the British said, sounds cool to us. And they did it. And when the Bahamians found out, they're like, that, even if all that stuff is true, it should have come to us. We need to make that decision. And that is the story of independence. Us saying, you do not have our best interests at heart. Us as Bahamians, we need to be the ones who are making these decisions, right? Side note, the governor of Florida sided with us and was like, hey, we are 60 miles away from the Bahamas and we don't feel comfortable with y'all doing that. We don't think y'all should do that. The Americans did do it. The British let them. That's history. That is the push for independence.
Right.
But who was old enough during that time to remember nerve gas, this and that or whatever? Because this wouldn't have happened in 73, wouldn't happen in 72. This would have, I can't remember which year it happened, but it happened early enough. Whereas like, unless you were a tween or a teenager at that time in the late 60s, how are you going to remember that event? And that would make you deep in your 70s.
Right.
Or, sorry, not deep, but in your 70s now, right? And so it's like, there are people who have this story, but that's not the story that we hear every Independence Day.
Right.
We don't see that as the reason why it's so important for us to be independent so that we could make an informed decision about the destination and how our country is to be used to play a part in the general scope of society. So unfortunately, like you said, we don't have a mythology.
Right.
And so all people say is we independent.
Because that's a good reasoning. but it's still sort of, to be to the point. It's still kind of boring, right?
No, listen, I'm just saying what it is.
No, I mean that is great because the reasoning behind it, the whole us having a say in our and what our place and what happens to us and our role that we play in society on a global level, right? That's amazing, right? If we take that stance to promote independence and why it is important, I'm like, yes, I think people understand that. But bringing it back to the mythos, the whole nerve gas thing is like, maybe maybe spice it up, put some German spice or something in there, like something, right? Because you're right, that part, like if you said that, oh, this was the catalyst to push us towards independence, you'd be like, okay, it's like it's slightly uneventful, but
well, you know what? We got to take a break. When we come back from the break, there's more things that happened during independence that you're aware of. I know that you're aware of it. We're going to talk about it. You are watching and listening to Sidebar 103 to B podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
Welcome back to Sidebar 103 to B podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. I'm here with Patrick.
Yep.
We are talking about Bahamian Independence. I'm trying to make sure my head is in the camera. Anyway, we're talking about Bahamian Independence. Why it is meh. All right? Come to the conclusion of the issue of mythos.
Yes.
All right? We lack a story to tell that's interesting enough that people say, oh, yeah, babe, that's true. And the thing is, with the story, you tell the story over and over again.
Right.
I can give you I think that perhaps luckily, for independence, we have the reverse issue that we have with majority rule, which is with majority rule, we have a story, but we have no activity for people to engage in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to have an activity. Christmas doesn't work if you don't have gift giving. Valentine's Day doesn't work if you don't have gift giving. Gift giving is a nice catch-all because even like Halloween, it involves somebody giving you something, right?
Yes.
So if there's an activity for us to do, and the easiest activity is to purchase and then exchange gifts, that helps to keep something alive. We don't have that for majority rule. We have a story, but we don't have a thing. At one point, I was like, what if we all bake a loaf of bread and then give it to each other? Hey, man, I was trying to be different.
What are we doing this for?
For majority rule. But for Independence Day, for Bahamian Independence,
mm-hmm.
we do have the capitalism aspect covered, I think. Everybody's going to buy their shirt or find an old shirt that they have that's the right colors. right?
Yes.
Everybody's gonna buy the bunting or borrow some old bunting. Flags will be bought and exchanged. So we have the capitalism part down. The problem is we do not and Bahari comes out with their annual collection.
Yes.
Right? We have the capitalism down. What we don't have down is, and I feel like it should feel like give me Christmas light. Whereas like when it's December, from the 14th till the 25th, everywhere you go, it's Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. You don't wait until the week before Christmas to start talking about Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? You start saying, oh, we got to do Secret Santa. We got to figure out where we having dinner. We got to figure out what I get in this person, what I get in that person, and I got to figure. Like you start planning that, if not from November, at least the 14th. Right? If we could start independence celebrations mid-June, there's going to be a cathartic release by the time we get to the 10th.
Yeah.
I was going to say a different word, right? But I don't think that our listeners and our viewers are ready for that sort of collegiate language.
I mean, they get it though.
They understand.
They get it.
Sploosh. Right?
Yep.
An explosion of joy.
Yeah.
Right. But
thick, bountiful.
Right, a bountiful blessing of sorts. But right, if we had that sort of thing, it would be great. But how do you fill all those days? We barely could, bro. If you look at the calendar of events, it's the same calendar of events that's boring stuff that clearly, this is before people had electricity. This is before people had television. This is before people had radio. This when radio was brand new.
And you're talking about the events that are planned around
Independence every year.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the thing that I feel that every government, agency, department, ministry, whatever should know.
Mm-hmm.
Flag raising is not an activity. It's not a flag if it's not flown.
Don't tell the kids, Stephen.
So
you're breaking their hearts.
Good. Right? Because you raising a flag doesn't count as an activity. Right? So don't say that. A church service, once again, not a real activity. Because how many times have the founding fathers and the writers of the Constitution said, we are not a Christian nation, and everybody says, yes, we are. Well, if we're a Christian nation, going to church is just another day. That's not a special activity.
Special services.
Bro, it's like, if we go to church every Sunday, how is a church service a special activity? It's not. Right? So it's like, it would only be a special activity if we were godless heathens. Now, if you're willing to admit that the country is full of godless heathens, then I'll accept a church service as an activity. But it's not. What are the activities? It cannot be, here's the police force band is going to do the beat retreat. That's nice. It's great.
Right.
I love it. It's not enough. It's not enough for us to have, for the past 50 years, the same things over and over again. And we're not elevating it. We're not moving anything forward. And part of the reason is the story that we have to tell, we've limited ourselves in what the story is. Because the first part of the story is, of course, the nerve gas. We didn't give y'all permission to do that. The British gave y'all permission to do that. We would like to, because the British owned the colony, we would like to own ourselves so that we can decide. That's the first part of the story. The second part of the story is everybody didn't want to be independent. Now, although everybody has come around to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 1972, the F&M was very against independence. But
I envision some Oppenheimer type Hollywood take on this. I think we should.
But that's the thing. You know what I was going to
We should depict this on
the terrorist organization that
on
was
film.
formed in Abaco. They formed a secessionist group in Abaco.
Yes.
With the plan to secede from the Bahamas because they didn't want to be independent. They wrote to Britain. Britain is like, hey guys, we understand that you think that it'd be great if you stayed with us. we think that you should leave. It's been cool, but you can go now. When that didn't work out, they're like, well, we're going to secede or whatever. They had a little, I forgot where some people came down with weapons to help them make the little terrorist organization, right?
Mhm.
I can't remember where the people came from. I don't want to call the wrong other country name. All that stuff happened, right? You're familiar with the story that the guy has told multiple times about how when the then Prime Minister, Lyndon Billing went to Abaco to give a speech, somebody had tied dynamite around the dock, and it's like, I jump underneath, and
So
I untied the dynamite, I
I
pushed it out in the
I've heard
ocean,
that story.
and it exploded, and I saved the Prime Minister's life. That's his version of the story, right? I cannot dispute it. I was not even, my parents are barely alive, let alone I, right?
How was this dynamite detonate? Like, was there a gunpowder fuse line?
Once again, understand,
The logistics
we
of
think
it
that waterproof
is lost. in it.
fire is a brand new technology. I think that we've weakened our fire in the modern era. Perhaps it was normal.
But that means it was already, like, was there a timer on it?
I
Like,
don't know, Patrick.
because if you push it out and it still
If I remember correctly,
explodes.
that man is not even on this side of
Like-
Earth anymore. He is no longer with us to ask
It's
these
like-
questions. He told this story multiple times in public forums. I'm repeating what he said. Now, to what extent you would need to go to historians and say, this is what we think actually happened, this is what people witnessed, X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But that, like you said, if we had an Oppenheimer sort of telling of the story, right? Where the beginning of the story is, this is why it is important for us to be free.
Mhm.
And then we say, everybody wasn't on the same page. This is what some people did because they didn't want to be removed from Britain. They wanted to remain British citizens. And then, how do we all eventually come together on the same page, right? Because it's not like Abaconians now, like, oh, we hate the Bahamas, we ain't really Bahamians or whatever.
Right.
Right? To the best of my knowledge, Abaconians are proud Bahamians as well.
Yeah.
The Abaconians I know.
They're very proud.
Right. Now,
They are the only people I've ever seen with Bahamian branded tattoos.
oh, with the archipelago.
Yeah.
That's
It's
guilt.
Yeah.
But I get you.
Yeah. That's very popular
Anyway,
in Abaco.
I'll tell you something off it. But yeah, so you have to tell the whole story, and you have to tell a full story, and you have to tell, like you said, an engaging story. Because while to me the nerve gas is a big deal, that's some Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy type.
Right.
And like Slow Horses is a slow show. I've never watched it. The name has frightened me away from it. Right? Nobody wants to watch. I like boring stuff. So if I watch it, right? You think regular people can watch it? No. So you, like you said, you need some excitement. So
Yeah.
Here we have the action adventure. Here's the reason why. Here's the things that we're overcoming. This is what's happening, right? We don't get Nazis, but we do get a small group of people who are like, we don't think that this is the right direction, and another group of people saying it is the right direction. How do they overcome that, and how do we all become one big, loving, happy family? Since then, I think that the fear of offending people resulted in us telling less and less of the story. Our fear, because there are people who will not tell the nerve gas tale because they're like, what if it offends the Americans? It won't, because they thought that it was best practices, right, at the time. And there were some Americans who disagreed with it, right? So we have Americans on both sides of the argument in that part of the story.
Mhm.
And people are like, oh, don't tell the Abaconian part. Well, there were Abaconians who wanted to be a part of the Bahamas, and there were ones who didn't want to be a part of the Bahamas. In the end, they all became a part of the Bahamas, all right?
They had no choice.
But the whole point is, if we don't tell the story,
Mhm.
what we risk is the entire thing not seeming important. You had people who were risking their life for this. There are people who have died in service of the Bahamas. 1980, the HMBS Flamingo, those dudes swore to serve for the Bahamas,
Mm-hmm.
right? What they say? What the Defense Force motto is for not our legacy, for our
I don't
I can't remember
recall.
what it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, they died protecting a young Bahamian nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to just chalk it all up to be like, this is an ecumenical service and a flag raising, and we do it, and it literally we only care about it for this one day and no other day. And I'm glad that there are some people who are gonna enjoy the rush out, but it needs to be more. It should feel like Christmas from 10 days ago. We should be all saying, oh boy, Independence Day coming up. And it shouldn't be July 4th, ironically, is Bahamian Pride when you wear your Bahamian colors to work. Bro, we should be wearing colors. Do you know what it should be?
Why?
They counted it. I don't know. Somebody made the decision. It was weird. I also think they should have just switched the days around.
I mean, it wouldn't. I mean, we're afraid to offend Americans.
Why we picked July 4th
Right? That's
to be
more
Friday.
offensive.
It is
Like,
weird. It's super weird.
Like I'd be the last one to to talk about it, but I'll be like, I feel like that's where why we put it on.
I don't know. It should be the 5th or something.
Yeah.
But also, you know what else I think? I think it shouldn't be a Pride Day. I think that from June 15th, these are the colors. Everybody pick out your aquamarine shirt on Wednesdays, your black shirt on Fridays. Like, we play the colors out every other. So if you wear red, you wear red on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturday and Sunday.
Every
But
day should be
other day-
Pride Day.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
From the 15th of June straight to the 10th.
Right.
Give me all of those
Americans don't need an excuse to wear the flag colors.
days at all.
Right?
And
That's
God
how
bless
it
them for it.
right. That's how it should be.
And that's how, right. But the thing is, they have a mythos. They have
Yeah.
a story.
Yeah.
So when they say they're wearing the flag and they're wearing the red, white, and blue, they're not just saying that arbitrarily.
Mm.
They have a spiritual story that they are telling, and they're participating in it by wearing the flag. We are trying to get people to do half of it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do the whole thing. Without the story, I don't see the importance of it, and I'm not going to participate. Without the participation, even if there is a story, I'm not going to care about the story because
Right.
I don't participate. This isn't about me. There are many stories. There's the story of Ganesh, the elephant-headed god inside the Hindu culture. He was playful and whatever, and then his father cut his head off, and his mother was like, "Oh no!" and she put an elephant head back on it. Bahamians don't care about that story. It has nothing to do with them, except for the Hindu Bahamians, which, you know, bless them,
I would hope not.
right? But I'm just saying, generally speaking, Bahamians don't care about the story because there's no way for them to participate in it.
Mhm.
They don't care. That's not their story. This is our story.
So who's responsible for telling the stories and making?
Why you gonna wait till this part of the show to? You know what? We're gonna take a break because you just sound like you're trying to blame the people on this couch and saying it is our responsibility. Who's going to tell the stories?
I mean, someone has to.
I'm going to take. Well, this is the prologue, I guess, to us attempting to tell the story. We're going to take a quick break. This is Sidebar, 103 podcast, powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back after this.
Win a brand new 2026 GAC MPOW every week for 5 weeks. Every 10 reward points earns you 1 digital entry. The more entries you gain, the better your chances to win. 5 weeks, 5 cars. Will you be one of our lucky winners? Catch the keys today, only at Island Luck. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so game responsibly.
IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. Patrick, I'm going to give you the final word. What do you want to leave the people with?
The question I posed to you before the break, right? Who is responsible for the story? I think that's the first thing we have to tackle, and I don't think it's a difficult undertaking, right? Because the story can begin to be told now, right? Because there's no point in looking at the past or what we didn't do in the last 50 years, right? Moving forward, we have to be responsible for telling the story, for creating this mythos, right? Even if the history isn't as exciting or eventful as other nations or as we would like it to be, we have to then create the pride amongst our people, right? So there are people who care about independence, people who care about the story, people who have that pride. They need to do, their part in order to share this feeling, right? With the youth, with even people who are in positions that they can influence change. I just think that go moving forward, even with if the government doesn't do anything, like I think as individuals we can say, hey, independence is coming up, let's form our own events, let's
Which is
as
honestly how it
right,
usually goes.
bars, have an independence special, like even get the international franchises involved, right? Because it's you're in the Bahamas, right? Why not sort of try to celebrate with the people, right? The people that own these franchises, and they know, communicate with the corporate and say, hey, this is what we want to do to sort of show our appreciation.
Yeah.
We're in the country. There has to be. I think it starts with us, and yeah, I just think we need to create a mythos starting now, right? Even if it's something new, I think that's the way forward. And yeah, I think that's gonna make a difference, a big difference.
All right. So does that mean then that are you gonna are we writing a song or?
Yeah, like people should write songs. People should write songs.
I meant us. Are we?
Yeah, we're a part of that, right? We're not exempt, right? We have to take responsibility as well, right?
You know why? Because I've been out there celebrating 365.
You have done a good job. I think you were very vocal about your love for independence.
Well, yeah, anything for a day off.
And at least in conversations like these are good to have, because once people start talking about it, again, like you said, when you mentioned it to me, it really dawned upon me, like, yeah, I don't see anything.
It's happening now, right, guys. It's happening now.
And that's crazy to me. I don't know if they're waiting for July 1st.
They are. And anyway, that's a whole different thing. But like you said, we as the individuals, as the people, must start it, because that is how it works. The government is going to do whatever we do, right? The government is a microcosm of us. We picked 30 to 40 people from amongst the general population of 400,000 people. So we picked less than 0.1%, right, of the population. And we said, we endow you with all our power, do something, right? We cannot then just pretend as though. So you really telling me that small percentage of the population is more intelligent than everybody else? Of course not. They are limited in scope of what they may come up with, what they might think. They might think of some good ideas, but honestly, that's not their job. Their job isn't to come with ideas. Their job is to write the legislation to help us make our ideas work or come to fruition, whether that's with dealing with crime, whether that's dealing with poverty, whether that's dealing with how the roads work, whether it's dealing with where your schools go. The job of the government is to write legislation, particularly with Parliament, write legislation, write laws, so that me and you can enact our ideas. So we are not freed from having ideas just because the government exists.
Right.
We must continue in order for the government to even do their job. Because what's the point of them making laws if we don't have any ideas? You know what I mean? But anyway, that's a whole different topic for a whole different show. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us.
It's great as always.
Yeah, and 2 fans. And thank you guys for joining us. Once again, this has been Sidebar, 103 to B podcast, powered by IlTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. True God still.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
Tired of driving around from place to place just to get your car insured and licensed? Frustrated with the process of being back and forth from your insurance company to road traffic? Well, BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers just made insuring and licensing your motor vehicle as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1. Visit us at the Road Traffic Department, Section 1, Thomas A. Robinson Sports Stadium. At our office, you can purchase or renew your insurance or get your vehicle inspected. We at BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers represent major carriers. Step 2. See the professionals at Road Traffic to get your vehicle licensed. Step 3. Enjoy your day. Insure with BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers today, saving you time and money. Your one-stop shop for all of your insurance needs. Great rates, convenient, excellent service. For more information, call us at 322-2221.
So you want a space, but not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at IlTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?